I was 60 miles from home when I pressed the brakes, and they barely worked. I pulled over, popped the hood, and my hands started shaking. Someone had tampered with my brakes. That someone, my next-door neighbor. And that moment, that was the last day I played fair. If you've ever wanted to serve cold, calculated justice to someone who tried to ruin your life, you're going to love this story. Hit that like button, subscribe, and strap in, because today's revenge is digital, diabolical, and oh so satisfying. 15 years ago, my wife and I decided to leave the noise behind. We bought a modest home deep in the countryside, craving peace, simplicity, and the chance to build a quiet life. It was the kind of place where you wave to neighbors you barely know, and we liked that. Our nearest neighbors seemed fine at first. A little rough around the edges. Your typical backwoods, coupled with too many dogs and too few boundaries. But we didn't think much of it. A year into living there, everything changed. My wife was pregnant, our first child. She was in her third trimester, swollen feet, aching back, barely sleeping. I was traveling for work at the time, which meant she was home alone during the week. One evening, she decided to soak in a warm bath, hoping for even a few minutes of relief. And that's when it began. The barking. Not just barking, howling, growling, baying. Their dog, a massive beast with a voice like a jackhammer, stood on their porch barking nonstop for 30 minutes. My wife tried to ignore it, but it pierced the walls like a siren. She opened the window, politely called out. No response. Then she snapped, throwing on her bathrobe. She stormed the front door and shouted into the night. Can you please shut that damn dog up? I'm pregnant and I'm trying to rest. Not her finest moment. But what came next made it seem angelic by comparison. The very next day, their Wi-Fi network name changed to I Red Heart Barking Dogs. Okay, immature, but whatever. Then we started noticing things. Broken flower pots, tire marks across our grass. My tools went missing from the shed. At first, we questioned ourselves. Maybe it was the wind. Maybe we misplaced them. You always want to give people the benefit of the doubt. But that illusion shattered one afternoon when I came home from work and saw my wife, 8 months pregnant, bending over in the driveway, picking something up. Nails, not just scattered nails. These were hand-welded spike strips made of nails bound together with wire. Homemade tire traps. That backwoods scumbag had booby-trapped our driveway, likely hoping to blow out my truck's tires, or worse, have her step on one barefoot. I was furious. I marched over to their house, but they never opened the door, just smirked at me from behind the curtain. But nothing could prepare me for what happened next. A week later, I left for work before sunrise. It was quiet, too quiet. I got in the truck, started driving, and hit the highway. About 15 minutes down the interstate, I tapped my brakes to slow down. They were soft, spongy. I pressed harder. Nothing. My truck barely responded. Hard hammering. I pulled into a truck stop, crawled underneath, and checked the brakes. That's when I saw it. The petcock valve on my front brake caliper had been loosened. My brake fluid had drained out during the drive. Let me make this very clear. This man tried to kill me. That was the moment I knew I had two choices. Call the cops and probably get told there's no evidence. Handle it myself. I chose door number 2. See, I work in IT. Security, penetration testing, hacking, that's my playground. And these people, let's just say, they weren't exactly running Fort Knox over there. I dug up an old laptop, wiped it clean, and installed Kali Linux, an operating system built for digital security testing. I parked near their house, fired up some software, and just like that, I cracked their Wi-Fi. Password was literally Bark123. The fun began. First, I accessed their wireless printer. That same night, I sent them a lovely printout. I can't stop thinking about you. Last weekend was amazing. I don't care if your wife finds out. Fake email from Amanda. Then came the photos. Explicit ones. Random adult content downloaded and printed right into their living room. I imagined their screaming matches could be heard from 3 houses over. But I wasn't done. I did a little research. and found a prison pen pal website. You know, where lonely inmates look for companionship. I created a profile for her, the neighbor's wife. I used their real address, their dog names, how long they'd been married, her favorite TV shows, what the husband did for work, and I matched her with an inmate serving 18 years for armed robbery. Then I wrote the first letter as her, pouring her heart out to this inmate, talking about her unhappy marriage and how she was ready for something real. I mailed it from a town 2 hours away. A few weeks later, I saw the husband outside yelling, holding a piece of paper. He was waving it in her face, veins bulging, and she looked like she'd seen a ghost. I watched from my porch, sipping coffee. Justice. But I wasn't after just revenge. I wanted them to understand. You mess with a pregnant woman. You try to sabotage someone's brakes. You throw spike strips in their driveway. You're not just a nuisance anymore. You're a target. They started keeping their dog inside. They stopped looking us in the eye. Their Wi-Fi quietly changed back to something generic. The vandalism ended. Within 6 months, they put the house up for sale. And when the moving truck pulled away, I stood in the driveway with my newborn daughter in my arms and smiled. Sometimes, revenge isn't loud. It doesn't need fists or flames. Sometimes it's quiet, precise, psychological. And when it's done right, they never see it coming. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button. It really helps us out. And drop a comment. What would you have done in this situation? And hey, for more stories of justice served cold, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We got plenty more where that came from.